I forgot my headset. Let me just grab my headset. All right, fantastic. Now I got a headset. So this is me now trying to confirm that people are able to watch. I should be sharing this link with people to ensure that people are able to actually see this. And as typical, I will share on Instagram, and Twitter, all these things here. So I'm pressing the subtitle button, but I just don't see anything come up, but it is pressed. So I'm not entirely sure why that's not the case. Let me share this to our second wave chats, and then also get this on Twitter. And while you're here and waiting for me to sort myself, if you don't mind actually hitting share and sharing it amongst people who you think might benefit from a discussion about the border, because there's a lot of news today and we need to stay consistent, put together, and very much focused on our goals. Too much deviation, not enough focus, there can be problems. So let me post it into the Facebook groups. One moment. Doing a live right now clarifying the June 21st announcement regarding no quarantine for vaccinated Canadian family. We'll discuss our strategy moving forward. Please share with someone you think might benefit from hearing. So I cannot see any of your comments right now because I'm posting. So I'm just going to assume you guys can still hear me. I hope you guys can still see me. Making that share go on right now to the Facebook page, and then going to share it to the Facebook group as well. For those of you who are just joining us for the YouTube Lives now, if you have time, please join us please follow us on YouTube by hitting subscribe. That helps us because we need to create a larger mass of people as we move forward in the campaign. We need a lot of coordination to be successful. Things like today show that we are able to succeed provided we work together, but it does require a great amount of coordination, and that means checking your Facebook pages. But in this case, because I'm going to be communicating with you guys through live more often, through YouTube Live, please subscribe to YouTube. Okay, so here we are. So I am simply making sure, oh, I haven't posted on Twitter yet. Okay, let's post it on Twitter. Put it on the Facebook page. There has to be an easier way to do this, but YouTube Live doesn't automatically post to our Facebook members. And so because of that, there's a little bit of delay. So a lot of this is manual. Clarifying the June 21, okay, vaccinated families. Okay, families, we'll discuss our strategy moving forward. Please share with someone you think might benefit from hearing. Question Q&A and follows. Q&A follows. So if you guys don't mind typing in the chat, if you've shared it, that'd be helpful. We can see how far people are sharing this. Because we do need to be able to coordinate. There are a lot of different family reunification groups. There are a lot of people who are affected. We need to stay organized, because if we aren't, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Okay, so now that we're organized here, special thanks to the second wave who have been able to get our messaging out quite a bit. Let me just check in with them to see what has actually been posted up. Oh, thank you, Kara, for getting that done. Very, very fast, very efficient. You've been fantastic. Thank you for doing so much work. Okay, putting it out here, just sharing it one last time with a few more groups. And if anyone has an idea of how to make this a little bit more automated, I mean, I'm sure you guys love watching me for the minutes posting to other groups, but I'm sure there's a better way to do it. Okay. All right, so just reading the initial comments. Cindy Pierce, thank you for all your help, Dr. Poon. I'm so grateful. Thank you for your help, Cindy. It's also not just David, it's the entire team, all of you guys who've written letters, made phone calls. It's a huge thing that you've all done. I can see in this chat, Justin, our chief of staff, is here. JB from our second wave, very, very good. Lots of people have been helping. So I'm seeing a comment here. I've cried all day today. I'm not exempt for the news. And if you don't mind typing in the chat why you're not exempt, because I think we need to get some ideas. I assume Stephen is saying, big step today, everyone. So proud of everyone. Good to go on YouTube. Can hear and see clearly. Click the notification bell too. Okay, yes, sorry. When you guys subscribe to YouTube, the Face of Advocacy, there's a little bell sign. Use that to subscribe. We'll go into that later. Melissa, David, you are my favorite person today. You are all my favorite person today. You guys just did wonderful. You guys are, honestly, we'll get into it in a moment. But the amount of work that you've all put in, the amount of dedication and diligence today, we've done something that is so substantial, and that we've got families, 4 national families, exempt from the hotel quarantine. There are many people we still have to work for, but that's a huge step because there are a lot of bigger lobbyists than we are, but we were able to have some secure successes, and that's something that you should all be very proud of yourself for. Those, yep. So, okay, I'm just going to stop reading these comments. I'll go into them later. All right, so let's review the news from today. In short, anyone who was allowed into Canada yesterday is allowed into Canada starting 11:59 July the 5th. And if you're fully vaccinated, you will be exempt from hotel quarantine as well as regular quarantine, provided you have a negative PCR test on arrival. This applies to the air, the land, and assumingly the sea. Although I have to admit, I haven't actually heard the sea mentioned out loud. So this is a huge thing for families. I know there are many pieces to this, and we'll go through it bit by bit. But it's very important to understand that when it comes to family reunification in Canada, that is a huge step. And many people are conflating opening the border and American policies and international policies. But when it comes from a Canadian standpoint, this is a fantastic thing. If you have proof of vaccination, this will be sent through the ArriveCan app. And then upon arrival, you will be having a PCR test. If the PCR test is negative, you will not have to quarantine. In the interim, you are allowed to go to a place of quarantine that isn't a hotel quarantine site. So that already is huge, because as we maintained for a long time, families should have been exempt from hotels. This is way before even the expert panel. So today is an important and significant step. I know many of you will have parts that are not applicable, but I also know many of you will be exempt under this, and that is some cause for relief. Regardless, we still have a plan moving forward. So there are some very common questions that have come up, and I don't have answers for them. One common question is, will foreign nationals still be required to stay for 15 days? And I've done a lot of searching for today, and no one has the answer, including my contacts with the IRCC and health. In addition to that, the media have used their contacts. Nothing has come up. So in all the news that we've done, we're bringing up how the 15-day minimum stay does not make any sense anymore, given that quarantine for vaccinated individuals doesn't need a 2-week quarantine. If I were to guess, they are working on it, and I know that they're aware of the issue because of the Family Reunification Border Transition and our policy document was submitted to the government on June the 15th. I personally submitted it to the ministries as well as the standing committees. So I know they have it. What they'll do with it, I'm not entirely sure. but I'm going to keep looking for what happens about the 15-day minimum stay. I know for a lot of board families, the 15-day minimum stay is completely prohibitive, and it's something that we need to find out. Given that we don't know what's going to happen, all we need to do is make sure that people in the government hear us, but we'll find out more as we get closer to July the 5th. So before we go into spirals of sadness, understand that there's still a 2-week window for us to actually address this. Much like how last week many people were feeling down that families were not going to get what we needed on June the 21st, we have to stay steady, keep the course, remain disciplined, write our letters, and we can enact successful change. Another piece that I don't have full clarity on is, let's say you're flying into Canada and your final destination is Winnipeg. So you can fly into Toronto, and then currently you have to do your hotel quarantine in Toronto before you fly out to Winnipeg. So our question now is whether or not people in transit on the way to Winnipeg, will they have to stay in Toronto for however many hours? And so that I've asked directly, and we haven't been able to get clarification on that as well. One piece that we have heard, and we do not quite like how it's presented, is that children, minors, will not be subject to hotel quarantine, but they'll still be subject to quarantine. Now, admittedly, we shouldn't be bringing kids in and then having them play at daycares. But it's a not common sense policy right now, because if you're fully vaccinated, if you have a fully vaccinated family and your toddler is with you, it doesn't make sense to have them solely stay in quarantine, because it's not like the toddler is going to go off drinking at the nearest club, spreading COVID. So this is something that we're actually trying to address, because that's something that was said by Minister Haidu, and we now need to actually reverse that. So that's something that isn't, we are uncertain about. That's something that actually has occurred. So these are main issues. Now, of course, there are problems such as those who are getting vaccinated in Canada. It's been very difficult to get your second shot. I'm bringing that up quite regularly, but I am optimistic that we have quite a bit more vaccination coming in. The terminology for all these exemptions from restrictions are those who are fully vaccinated. It doesn't actually say need 2 shots. So here's something that I think will be okay, but I want it mentioned just in case. People with Johnson & Johnson have only 1 shot. And more complex is actually those who are in Quebec. If you've had COVID in Quebec, it was advised to you that you only need 1 vaccination for full immunity. So right now what we need, and what we're continue to push for, is for the government to have a very clear list on what will be considered fully vaccinated. Because all of us who cross the border know our chances of getting inside depend on the mood of the border officer, and we don't want to leave it to that. So we want to know the clear definition of fully vaccinated. All of this, once again, is listed in our Family Unification Border Transition Plan, which will be a big part of our letters moving forward. I cannot tell you if our Family Unification Border Transition Plan was the reason that things came out today. But I can say that a lot of what came out today is consistent with the Family Unification Border Transition Plan. And I'm very proud of all of you for getting it into the hands of your MPs. We've had some feedback from some MPs that say it's a very reasonable plan. And that's something that really brings a lot of joy to me, because all of you guys have worked so hard to pull it together. There are points in here, such as the 15-day minimum stay, searching for vaccines that are not the big 4, as well as dealing with children in a more compassionate way. They're all in the transition plan, and that's why we need to continue distributing it. So let's get to the news itself, and what was posted, and then what kind of things we need to do moving forward. Let me just open up the Zoom. I'll read these comments soon enough, but let's, oh, there's a closed caption button here. Nope, that does not work here. Okay, let's do a share screen. Here we go. there's got to be a much more eloquent way of going about this. Uh, I, however, am not really good at getting things eloquently done. Okay, so this is just a list. So here is what we have so far. Now, there are many reports through the media over what can be done, but because we want to go to the source, this is it. This is our press release. This is not the full plan, but this is their potential and what they actually want to enact. Of course, it's actually in procedurally making it work and operationalizing it all. That's going to be the challenge. So that's what our focus will be in the next 2 weeks. We need to make sure that things are clearly laid out, that we know what is considered vaccinated, and as well try to reverse this child issue. It's great to have nice ideas in the policy, but the policy itself must be good. And Faces of Advocacy has always focused on good, strong policy. So people are saying July the 5th. It is July the 5th technically, but it's 11:59 p.m. So July the 6th will be the first day that Canadians and foreign national immediate or extended family will be allowed to enter Canada fully vaccinated and therefore avoid hotel and home quarantine. This is something that will really help a lot of people. So there are, however, requirements to do a pre-departure test, which is not recommended by their expert panels, but they've recommended to do, the government has said to do. And then there also will be an arrival test. Okay, these things are PCR. We don't know who's actually going to pay for this. There are no changes for those who are partially vaccinated or unable to vaccinate. So for you guys, there's still a big push that we need to deal with. As we operationalize things, we also need to focus on expanding, and I'll get to that in a moment. From here, we just have a few quotes of what the ministers have said. And I want to take a moment to discuss 75/20. So our terminology and our deliberate words are very important, because I'm a strong believer that if we go into comment section and talk about things that we have not read properly, we will look foolish. And I understand there's an impulse in a lot of people to act out on their anger and their frustration. But if we are not using proper terminology, we're going to look so foolish. So some people have been talking about goalposts changing. And I believe that the goalposts have changed, but it's very important to discuss why we think that. A few weeks ago, the ministers said that once 75% of people with one vaccine and 20% of people have both vaccines, of Canadians, we will begin to look at border reopening. We hit that, and congratulations to all of you who were able to get that far. So that was big. Today, they talked about now the next goal being 75% 2 doses and 20% being, 75% being 2 doses. Okay. Now, they are arguing that 75% 1 dose, 20% 2 doses was always a stepping stone. And yes, it should be a stepping stone. That makes sense. The problem is no step was taken today when it came to changes in the border. Everything today was a change in quarantine for those who are already allowed into Canada. But no new people were allowed into Canada. For that reason, this is a change in goalposts. They said once we hit 75% 1 shot, 20% 2 shot, we'll look at opening the border. Nothing with the border was open today. And that is really upsetting. So that's where the goalpost changed. It wasn't because now they're saying in order to do anything, we need 75% 2 doses. It's because they did nothing once we hit that first goal. It's a small distinction when we write, but because opposition people to us, people who will say, no, don't you understand? They said the first step will be 75% 1 dose and 20% will be 2 doses. They have to make it very clear they didn't change anything. There was no first step taken in terms of border reopening. And that's why people are upset. This distinction, this nuance is very, very important. So let's head back to, sorry, I just realized that I'm large screen this entire time. So let's head back to how we're going to be moving forward. So there are a number of people who are left behind in this process. Temporary residents, those who cannot get the second vaccination because of Canada supply issues, and those who are unable to vaccinate. Okay, these are all major groups of people who we still need to advocate for. So the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan is it's in the name. It's meant to be a transition, and right now we need to focus on the fact that because we are the only foreign nationals actually allowed to enter Canada, therefore we are the ones who have to show all of the country that we can make it safe and that it can be done safely. Doing this step is very important for us. Now, this is all written here, but the basic idea is that we are the unique opportunity to pilot evolving immigration system. So I strongly believe that if we show that we can do these things properly and safely, this will open up the doors to other people and a full border reopening. So temporary residents, partially vaccinated, and those unable to get vaccinated, they all have families. They all contribute to Canada, and these people must be the next ones in the door. So this is what our next focus will be when it comes to Reunification Thursday. Now, following that, we actually have more of a discussion to do because today I had a meeting with IATA, the International Airline Transport Authority. So they're essentially the big group that talks about how airlines should operate. And they want to work with us in a focused social media campaign that will lead to a broader reopening. And they agree. The Family Reunification Border Transition Plan with our 10 recommendations will be as a good start in getting people into Canada for a wider reopening. I know many of you are very disappointed that there wasn't an all-out reopening. I know an all-out reopening would help a lot of people. However, family reunification has been preserved with today's announcement, and I think we can herald the new age of a post-COVID world by doing this properly and sticking the landing. It's a very good opportunity for us. I know some of you are upset saying, we shouldn't have to apply for the IMM 006. I get that. There are a lot of civil liberties that are being entrenched upon. But we have to take wins that we can actually succeed in. And today we got a success that cannot be forgotten. And that's such a big deal. Let me take a look at stuff I was supposed to talk about on arrival tests. We talked about the minors. The ArriveCan app, right now, it hasn't been solidified on what exactly they'll do, but hopefully that'll be the case, that the ArriveCan app will be able to authorize us and come in. I don't want any questions when we get to the border. The Quebec issues, temporary residents need to be covered. Public reopening plan. If temporary residents, partially vaccinated, and those unable to get vaccinated can only fall under a full reopening, then that's what we have to push for. At the moment, we have a little bit of opportunity to test the waters of how effective the system is and get more family in. I strongly believe that if you are in comment sections yelling, open the border, without knowing what that actually means, without knowing the various processes behind it, we will look foolish. We need to have a very well put together plan with a very focused set of goals in order to succeed incrementally. And I believe that's what we've been doing, and that's why I'm so, so proud of you. One thing that always comes up and is very, it's closely related, but it's not a Canadian government issue, it's not a Canadian government issue depending on who you talk to, is that Canadians, even Canadian family members of Americans, cannot drive into the US, okay? That's entirely an American issue, okay? Now, I understand there are rumors that the Americans' borders are closed because the Canadians want it closed. That rumor has been going on for quite some time. I've tried with many different people, reporters and people in the government, to find an actual source on this. And all I ever hear are, yes, I've heard this, but no one is actually able to point to how that mechanism works. So at the moment, it's not something that we can actually write a letter and say, hey, I heard this rumor, act on it. If you are an American There's the Let Us Reunite campaign that is working on opening the land border for people to come in. Ideally, the Americans would have had extended family exemptions and immediate family exemptions, but they don't. I know the land border is a huge issue, but right now, if you are vaccinated, you can drive into Canada without quarantine. And that is a huge success for a lot of people. This is a big deal. And I hope this offers you some semblance of, of happiness. Uh, Kara, people can see what you're writing. Okay. All right. Let's check this out. Kara put a link in here, and let's see what this magical link is going to be. This is kind of fun. I hadn't expected that. Okay. So this is their argument on what needs to be done. This is our step-by-step process, and I just got a message that this is kind of a brand new document that's kind of like up new. So let me just confirm that as we go through here. Okay, so this is something that I personally haven't seen. I think it's actually describing what we need to do. So if you guys humor me, let's go through it together. So here is the July 5th part, 11:59. Individuals' right entry. Oh, thank goodness. There it is. Foreign nationals are able to enter. So I have no idea if the transition plan made that happen, but I know that it was right there in the transition plan and we made it a big deal with the MPs. So I'll take it as a small win that we were able to get this so clearly. During a lot of the speeches that the ministers make, they never talk about foreign nationals. So I don't know if they're hiding it or whatnot, but oh, thank goodness it's right there. That is fantastic. Okay, proof must be in English or French, certified translation. And then here are the big fours. The full series of the vaccine or combination of the vaccine. So that's good. So that means the Johnson & Johnson. It doesn't quite say if the Quebec ruling will work. So I guess we'll have to go through here. Quarantine and testing. Oh, that's fantastic. Fully vaccinated will not need to quarantine or complete a day 8 test. They must still have, oh, this is important. Make sure you still have a suitable quarantine plan, because if you arrive and your PCR shows that you're positive, you still need to have had a quarantine plan. So that has to still be made, okay? I don't want to hear any stories of people going to the border and saying, well, we didn't need a quarantine plan. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. We're going to follow the rules and we're going to show them that we are safe. We have to do this smart. And if at any time someone is in Canada and they get positive, then therefore they'll have to go into quarantine. Okay, air travelers no longer have a hotel. The reason why it specifies air travelers is because land travelers never had to go through the hotel quarantine. And then kids are exempt from the hotel quarantine, but not quarantine. Okay, let's go through this. Declaring vaccination status. This is kind of exciting. All travelers must disclose COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, so if you're not vaccinated, you have to say that you're not vaccinated. Required evidence of their vaccination by uploading supporting English or French documentation in the ArriveCan app or doing it online. Now, here's a problem. The border service agent will be making the final determination, but as we thought, by July the 5th, there'll be very clear, hopefully very clear details on what is required for the vaccination card. Okay. You can use ArriveCan on Google Play or iPhones. Okay. Okay, this is something very good. Kara, make sure I don't forget this. Travelers must retain a copy, paper or electronic, of their vaccination document. Okay, so I always suggest people have both paper and electronic, but make sure they're always carrying a copy. So that means like a picture on your phone or something, I guess. Okay, now entry to Canada has not changed. Pre and post arrival testing has not changed. Unless fully vaccinated, you still have to do your day 8. So you need to have a quarantine plan. Okay. All right. So that's very, very good. Let me check this magic document to see if there's anything else around here. Nothing here. So thank you, Kara. Okay. And before I close this screen, I just want to show you guys how to subscribe. When you're on Faces of Advocacy's YouTube, there's a subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, a little bell will appear. Click on it. Right now, we're at 1.3K subscribers. I'd like to hit 2K by the end of August. We really need to have a focused campaign moving forward, because as election comes up, as things change, If we are splintered, we will not be effective. Canada, I think, was one of the world leaders when it actually came to the extended family exemption, and that was thanks to all of your work with the face of advocacy. There were other sweetheart visas, but we got grandparents, we got siblings, and we had, as terrible as using the IMM006 has been, we actually had like a plan. The Americans don't even have that. That's why the land border is locked. We need to stay organized. So if you can, please share this video with one other person, and please get one other person to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. I'm sorry I sound like a shill. I guess I am now. Speaking of shilling, if you guys want to donate to the campaign, you don't need to, but buymeacoffee.com/faces of advocacy. This has helped us a lot in terms of paying for our charter challenge, and keeping our website open, and for incidentals and payments. If not, it's okay. It'll just come out of my pocket. We're always just so grateful for your help. Kara donated a ring lamp. These are all things that help us look a little bit more professional, because now we are really in the game right now, because we've had a lot of successes and we're going to keep bringing in those successes. Okay, so I'm turning off that screen there. I'm now going to open the YouTube comment section and actually see what people have been saying, because I haven't read them on the way here. Okay. So going from top to bottom, please put your questions in here. I can also invite you to the Zoom itself where we can chat, but I feel right now we should maybe stay focused on just what's written here. Hi, David. Thanks for everything. Thank you to the team for everything. I have a concern. If I cross the border into Saskatchewan from USA, would I need? Okay, so the question is whether or not you are able to do transit before your PCR tests come back. I don't have an answer for that. It's very clearly in our transition plan, and I will keep hounding on this. In our next reunification Thursday, these details will be cleared up. So that's what we need to push for. Good job to the team. Under 18s, the IMM006E, very early in the process, I asked specifically about under 18s. We weren't able to do it. There were too many risks apparently from the IRCC talking about kids being moved over under this process. I'm sorry, we cannot deliver anything further for the age range for the IMM006E. Check my messages. Yep, should have a couple minutes ago. Yeah, no lying. Don't lie. No one do any lying. Nothing for temporary residents yet. And now that we have this edge in, we need to start pushing. Once again, temporary residents have not benefited from any of the extended family exemptions, and they should. They contribute to Canada. If it turns out that the only way to get temporary residents reunited with their family is a full-on border opening for fully vaccinated individuals, then that's what we'll push. To be honest, that's probably what we're going to be pushing for. Okay, more about under 18. Someone's asking, if you have family reunification approval and vaccinated, do you qualify for the announcement? Yes, you do. I'm begging of you, please take a listen to the videos, ask in the chat for our daily threads. Look for the answer before you ask. But yes, that's correct. And then we don't know about the 15-day minimum stay. We don't know about the 15 minimum stay. We don't know about the 15 minimum stay. Okay, so sometimes some people have issues downloading and viewing the IMM006E. We get this almost every single day. If you have someone who is having trouble with the technology, please help them. I beg of you. If you have trouble with the IMM006E, type it in our daily thread and someone will help you. But we cannot be posting about that all the time. Okay, so Stephen, yeah, the children under 12 are exempt from quarantine, from hotel quarantine, but not from regular quarantine, and that's a big problem because it'll affect mobility. Like I say, a toddler is not out there in the street drinking and spreading COVID. I have looked at OBS Studio to stream to several social media sites at once, but I am a Luddite. I'm not skilled at technology, and I haven't done that. So I said PCR test, is there a change? Sorry. The reason I'm saying PCR is because rapid testing looks like is not listed on what to do. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but Okay, a non-rapid test is done. I wish we could do rapid because then it becomes a moot issue during transit. Like you wait 15 minutes to an hour, but as far as I can tell, rapid testing has not been. Um, Average wait time of border tests. Um, so a lot of people have had quick responses, and some people get stuck in Switch Health. I'm unsure of why that's occurring. Switch Health has told me that it's a processing error on our part. I've mentioned that it's not our part. There's also Purelator getting in there, drop boxes. Um, for the most part, a lot of people have had good success with Switch, but there are also a significant number of issues that have come up. Yeah, that's a good question. What's the difference between a fully vaccinated and a fully vaccinated non-Canadian? So the expert panel that was released a few weeks ago does not make a distinction on what passport you have for coming into Canada. They simply say if you're fully vaccinated, come in, do a test for tracing, but not necessarily for diagnosis. That's very clear. Why the government hasn't, my strong this is completely speculation. My strong suspicion is it's because of a political issue from Ontario, possibly from Quebec, and also the fact that because there's an election later on this year, they don't want to do anything that is unpopular, and COVID is still in the headlines. The border people like us are a niche group. They're probably dilly-dallying on it because of political reasons. They say it's because of an abundance of caution, but where did their abundance of caution take them is to a lot of separated families, to an NHL team that had an outbreak with their coach, and no clear answers. In addition, in the House of Commons, they're debating it already today over secrecy with the government, including cabinet confidence, so locking the information for 20 years over why they implemented a hotel quarantine. There is something fishy going on here, and I'm very upset about that. We need to keep our eye on the ball and focus on reunifying Canadian families. This is what we have to do because that's what we can succeed in. And if, like I say, if the only way to get temporary residents partially vaccinated and people who cannot get vaccinated, if the only way to get them in is by a full-on border reopening, maybe we have to go that direction. Incrementalism is still, however, I feel the strategy we need to do. Okay, Teresa Owen says, I called the number on the website, and if you have authorization for immediate family and are vaccinated, you don't have to stay for 15 days. I hope that's true. Can someone send it to me in writing? Because, like we keep saying, all depends on how good of a day your border agent is having. Yes, Natasha, you're correct. Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and persons registered under the Indian Act, and then foreign nationals eligible to enter. Okay, please someone help these people with the IMM006E. Camille, who has helped us with our translations, hello Camille, says, if they don't mention the minimum 15 days stay, doesn't it mean it's not applicable anymore? Probably, but we haven't seen a new order in council, and we haven't seen that it's gone. And until I see with my eyes that the new OIC does not mention the 15 days, or something on the Canada.ca website says no 15-day minimum for fully vaccinated, I will not be able to rest, because too many of us, including my own partner, have suffered from irregularities from CBSA agents. Heck, including myself, I just realized when I came back to Toronto. Okay. So yes, apparently you can quarantine at our homes, not at a hotel quarantine, for a fully vaccinated person who arrives into Canada. You can quarantine your home as you wait for your test. Trudeau got his test back in 12 hours. Most of us are not the Prime Minister of Canada, but hopefully we'll have quick turnaround times like that. Okay, more IMM006E stuff here. Cindy, that's very kind of you. I am not your leader. We have a wonderful team who has put everything together. The Faces of Advocacy is closer to a federation. All of you guys have contributed by writing letters, working together, coming out with your own initiatives. The whole second wave, which has been incredibly successful as a working group, are just a bunch of volunteers. So if you have something to contribute, please message me on either Facebook. My fake name is Azrael Smash, ASZREAL, last name Smash, SMASH, or you can email me poon@facesofadvocacy.com, because we could always use more manpower. We just need people to be disciplined, diligent, and we need them to press forward, because there's going to be a lot of distractions and a lot of emotion. We need to push forward in a focused manner to succeed. I have no idea when they'll stop mandatory testing at the Canadian border. I don't. And testing will be a part for partially vaccinated and those who cannot get vaccinated for quite some time. Um, I understand some people cannot get vaccinated and we need to focus on a way to get them together. I hear you. Okay, more discussion on the IMM006E. Someone please help them. Okay, yeah, you have to quarantine until your test comes back and you quarantine at home. So is 70% 2 doses nearly impossible? So the US, from my understanding, New York, from my understanding, is like 50%. And they have it like everywhere. When I was studying in New York, I was walking in a mall and someone said, "Hey, you want a vaccine?" Like I was just walking in a mall. Now, luckily, my university, I already got vaccinated at that point. But given how abundant it is in New York and they're only at 50%, there will be some challenges hitting that 75% 2 doses. I because I speak to you not as a scientific expert, I don't speak to you as a family doctor or someone with an MPH or my public health and preventive medicine residency training. Like I don't talk to you in that regard. I cannot tell you whether or not 2 doses is impossible. Those are for much smarter minds than I. What I can say is we need to focus on family unification, and however we're going to get there is how we're going to get there. And if that means getting them to understand that 75 it may not be possible based on international precedent, we'll go that direction. Right now, let's see what we can do for those who are fully vaccinated, making sure the transition plan is in place to get those who are partially vaccinated, unable to vaccinate, and temporary residents under umbrella. We need this focused. Oh my gosh, still more on this IMM006 in the chats. Um, someone's writing that they couldn't get the IMM006 done because they aren't married. It's meant for those who are not married. John McCall is in the chat. Most people know, sorry, I would like to always restate the story of Donna McCall, a Canadian nurse who passed away without seeing her American children. I believe this was a huge oversight, that there was no compassionate exemptions, and there was a significant bureaucratic error, I believe. I will long maintain that taking 6 months for extended family exemptions, that kind of makes sense. But compassionate exemptions, like a dying Canadian mother, should have been there since day one. So if you choose to be so angry at something, that is what I'm angry about, and that will be remembered for the election. Okay, thanks, Kara, for letting me know new information on the website. Should have read this. Okay, more personal things. If you guys have questions, please post it in the daily thread because people are able to help you. This one looks more specific than I can deal with right now during this chat. Yeah, it's very expensive. And you'll notice that on point number 10 of the transition plan, I think there should be a system of refunds for those who are erroneously put into hotel quarantine and those families who paid for hotel quarantine because they have been disproportionately affected by the border closure. When it comes to media, I typically talk about the fact that a 15-day minimum stay is cost prohibitive for a number of international families, and some people have actually just quit their jobs just to be with their loved ones. And this is something that you should not have to do in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, Vermont is 80%. That's good. I didn't know that. Maybe it's possible. I don't know. I don't speak to you as an expert. My boyfriend's coming on July the 2nd, and he'll be out of quarantine on the 5th. If they come on the 2nd, I'm pretty sure they have to quarantine for 2 weeks. But that's a good question. Someone don't let me forget that. What will happen to those who arrived earlier when they were let out on the 5th? Melissa, I encourage anyone who can help to donate financially to Faces of Advocacy. Small increments add up. This is the very least we can do as thanks to help shoulder some of that burden. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you to everyone who could donate. And still, even thank you to those who cannot. I know it's a financially difficult time. We will still press on for you, but every donation does help at buymeacoffee.com/Faces of Advocacy. Okay, so this is a good one. We have one vaccine applied in Mexico and another one in USA. So my own partner is in that situation as well as some people of the second wave. We have written that in the transition plan that it should be recognized. So we will continue to work with the government in making sure that that's recognized. I don't have an answer for you, but it's something that we're aware of. And because we personally handed it to our MPs and the ministries, they're aware of it too. Okay, we're getting a lot of questions. Have you guys read the transition plan? Can someone put it in the chat? Can I give a note to a doctor to write a letter? That's the kind of thing that we're suggesting in this transition plan. It hasn't been stated today, but that's why we want the transition plan to be there. For those with complex cases, mix and match vaccines, 2 different countries, the transition plan addresses that. I think it's point 8, number 9. We need to have a way to actually maybe notarized form or a doctor's note to specify that this person is vaccinated. We need those outlying cases dealt with. Okay. My suspicion is it'll probably have a method for that because Canada themselves are mixing and matching. But either way, we need to make sure it's clear. Yeah, New York was doing great. I miss New York. Broadway wasn't open though, but I do miss the sandwiches. I love a good deli sandwich. Okay, someone corrected me again. New York is out at 70%. Okay, I didn't know that. So fantastic. San Francisco Bay is 60%. Okay, more questions about the current rules. So someone please help those in the chats. For children under 5, from my understanding, they're considered minors, so they're under 12, and so they still have to quarantine, which is why I'm saying, rather facetiously, but truthfully, that a toddler is not partying in the streets. There has to be some sort of common sense usage. Okay, more discussion on the actual rates of vaccination. Maybe it's 59%. I don't know. This is not the point of today's discussion. Okay, so that's the end of the number of questions here. So this is what you can do to help right now. Please share this YouTube link with other people who have questions regarding the quarantine and the border restrictions. If you know someone who is suffering, and that includes those who have had restaurants closed, tourism sector, those who work in aviation, share with them too. Because the Faces of Advocacy is working for Canadian families, but Canadian families are now being affected by things more than just the border. And I think it's time that we started working together in a very coordinated fashion. Today is a significant win for those who are vaccinated. But for those who cannot be vaccinated, and for those who are still waiting for vaccinations, and for temporary residents who've been ignored this entire process, these people have families too, and we need a path for them. If we're able to get temporary residents, partially vaccinated, and those who are not vaccinated, if their family issues can be dealt with through the transition plan, showing that incremental openings can help, then let's go that direction. But if we hit the fact that no accommodations for families for those who are partially vaccinated or cannot get vaccinated or temporary residents, if we hit that, then maybe we actually do have to start hitting a full-on border reopening. Right now, the goal will be family reunification for all different streams. And that, once again, right now it's only for the fully vaccinated, but there are many people who are suffering and we need to watch out for them. Here's a problem that occurred last year after we got our October exemptions. We had a whole bunch of people stop writing letters because they got what they needed. Please don't do that to families again. We need you, even if you are together. Half of our team, actually, I think most of our team, our main team, we're already reunited, but they still work near full-time hours on this for us. I myself have been reunited with my partner for quite a bit of time. Please don't leave the advocacy only to those who are suffering. We have to advocate for those who cannot. We have a platform, we have a strategy, and we have a wonderful machine to enact change. So if you're watching this and you are celebrating, please send this link to someone else and try to get more people involved. Go into the comment section of of articles where people don't read enough and educate them. Tell them about how safe we can be and tell them about the Faces of Advocacy. If you are suffering today because not included, share this link to someone else and get more people involved because we need every single hand on deck. The Faces of Advocacy work only because we are a grassroots movement that works together. And I am so damn proud of all of you. It is incredible. Airline industry were not able to succeed where we were able to succeed. A number of other groups have pushed for businesses, for property owners, but we were able to do that together for family unification, and we will continue to do so. But that only works if you are there with us. If you can't donate, please help another person. If you've already gotten all your friends subscribing, then keep posting to other groups and to other news articles about us. We need to get bigger, because with every success comes a whole slew of new issues. All right, I'm going to do one last look at the chat to see what's happening here. Oh my gosh, we're still talking about the IMM 006. All right. Okay, we're good. If you want to join the campaign, please message me on Facebook at Azriel Smash, ASZREL. If you want to email me poon@facesof-advocacy.com. Make sure to continue to write your letters Unification Thursdays, and share today's video with at least one other person. Have them subscribe to the channel, because we need more people working together to continue to succeed. You guys have done so fantastically today. I'm so proud of you. And for those who weren't able to read the current rules, we will not stop pushing for you.